Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to I Am My Brother's Keeper nonprofit organizations. Um, the power of your light. So I started this nonprofit at the top of the pandemic. Just like everybody was looking for something to do, and I used to have meetings every month when we first started. But life happens, and so I got a little more creative, and we would do different things online in the Facebook group as well as on our Instagram page and YouTube. And so just wanted to come together again at the top of the new year and just talk about the power of your light. And I mean, the first 30 days of the year has gone by. And so here we are, and want to be, just transparent about how we felt about last year. What did it, what challenges made you stronger? What challenges made you reevaluate? And what was the light at the end of the tunnel, pretty much? So for you, I have a couple of family friends with me today, just wanting to share their stories of the power of their light, and just listen in. And so we'll start first with Joelle and Takira, if that's okay, Wendy, because my grandson's he's back home from his day of events, and so they're trying to get him settled. So the quicker we can get them in and just sharing their story with us, then they can go and tend to him, if that's okay.
No, that's fine. That'd be great.
Okay. All right.
I get to listen in and know exactly because completely on my end, everything went black. So I could not hear or see anybody. So
Oh wow. Okay. I figured we're gonna come up on some of these challenges, and
yeah. So I don't know like what you wanted us to say or do or
no. So it's all about us, just sharing, being natural in this space, and talking about, from last year to the first 30 days of this year, just what that looked like for you, and where you're at in this moment.
Okay.
So
they can definitely go first.
okay, guys, so you can go for it. We're gonna meet. Oh, where did I go? Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I can't hear you.
Maybe he can't hear. Can he not hear? We can't. I can't hear him.
Right. We can't hear you. You can't hear us? Okay. Let me see. Add to stay.
I should probably get closer so that when.
Okay, can you say something now? See if you still can't hear us. You gonna go out and come back in? Okay.
How you been, Monique?
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So, okay. So what we'll do, we just go ahead. We'll start with you, if that's okay, then.
I'm going to start with them so I can listen.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Talking about healed and empowered and resilient. I was actually going to see if I can find my light, but I got this light over my head that I was trying to get rid
of. Okay. Can you guys hear us now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Yay.
I'm going to go get a table. Hold on a moment. Will everybody be able to see all of us when?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, everyone can see.
Hold on. I want
to check that. Profit. Yeah. Yeah. So it's in different time zone, but everyone can see. But everyone can see. Yeah. So it's in different time zone, but everyone can see. But everyone can see. Okay, I got that.
Okay, hello? Can you guys hear us? Okay, we are having some serious technical issues. Okay, so if Mom talking to us, you're breaking up. Okay, so I'm Takira. This is my husband Joel. Mom, what do you want us to discuss? You want us to?
Everybody's frozen.
Everybody's frozen? Oh, Lord. Okay. Wait. Wendy, can you hear us? Okay. All right.
I can hear you guys. I can't hear Monique.
Okay. All right. We'll have.
I have this light over my head I'm trying to get rid of.
Okay. One moment. We're sending reinforcements for. Okay. So I guess we'll go based on what she asked us to talk about. So we are first-time parents, and we're first-time parents with an autistic child, an autistic son, which we received his diagnosis in August of last year. He had exhibited some signs, and then we were fortunate enough to have daycare providers that we connected with to share with us, hey, I think you should get him tested. I think you should get him assessed. We just noticing, certain things if he's not responding to his name. There was a point where he was, and then he stopped. And then there was a point where he was speaking, and then he stopped. So it was a few signs that we had observed, and then over time, we had like little. I guess you have those moments of like God speaking to you, like, hey, I'm trying to tell you something, and I need you to be prepared to mentally and emotionally to get there, because you're gonna have to play a big part in your child's life. So we actually started noticing it. I want to say probably like after close to 1. And so the first daycare he was in, they had referred us to connect with infants and toddlers in PG County for services. And then it came to a point where Joshua began to isolate himself. So we started to notice that as well because he was different. And so we thought it was just needing some ear tubes because of ear infections. But then it led to some other signs of stimming and so on and so forth, with also him having particulars to certain foods, and not being as open to interacting with others. So we had to make a little shift to another daycare provider, which at that time, the second one was they were aware of other children and had worked with other children who had been diagnosed or were already in services. So it wasn't really foreign to them, but they worked with him very well. And then Joshua had a moment where he just, decided, no, this is no longer the place for me, and just his personality. So he's very expressive, though he is working on his verbal ability. He is very expressive and expressive in a way where he will tell you kind of what he wants, what he dislikes, and what he extremely loves. He does not show all the typical signs that people are used to as it relates to people who are autistic, especially children. So he's not a big, he doesn't have like extreme outbursts. They're more really like toddler like. So, so the normal tantrums, and so forth. And so for our journey, it has been emotionally challenging, physically challenging, and mentally challenging, but we are pushing through it together. My acceptance of it was a little bit faster than Joelle's, and just kind of going through the motions of making sure that not only us working, but also making sure he had every last bit of service and resource he needed.
One moment, we're sending reinforcements for.
So he now has fast forward. He is now in school. He's in a preschool early education program, which we connected to through infants and toddlers, and he is receiving special education as it relates to that with other children who are very similar to him, and he has adapted extremely well. I want to say he started last year, so he's adapted extremely well. So going from 2 years of trying to work through it with just a case manager and ourselves and family, to now he is in school, now he is in speech therapy, now he is in communication therapy, which really is you can use a device to communicate that they have created for children, people who are nonverbal, which is great, until they obtain complete language ability. And he's also in behavioral therapy as well. So he has a packed schedule throughout the week. And we're very grateful for our family and the providers that we now have, because all of them have care for him. All of them show interest. All of them really are engaged in trying to help him improve and progress. And we see it because Joshua is interested and engaged on a regular basis. So that is my part of it. I'm going to let Joelle share his experience.
You guys have a specific question for me. I think you uncovered it all.
Oh, well, you could go from the male perspective, for being a dad, with a child who's autistic.
Not a lot of crumbs left on this table to eat. So, from a male or dad perspective, I assumed he was autistic very early on, and I had trouble with it because part of the challenge was we couldn't get him diagnosed because he was quote unquote too young. But all the signs were there, and I remember saying, I wonder if he's autistic. And I was like, no, he's just taking his time. And it's like, I don't think so. Well, I think he's autistic. I hope I'm wrong. I wish I was wrong. So the confirmation for me was like confirming what I knew all along, but wishing and hoping I was wrong. The way I've been dealing with it is I have to understand, and I am understanding that I am his biggest voice, his advocate. Where he can't speak, I have to speak for him. When he can't fight, I have to fight for him. Not being familiar with autism, just from, I didn't have anyone in my family with it. I didn't know anything about it. I just was like, okay, I've heard the term, don't know much about it, don't know what it means. And as a parent, my biggest concern was, when he gets older, will he be able to sustain and support himself? Because my biggest fear is that I'm dead and gone, and I hate to sound so morbid, but I'm dead and gone, and no one's there to look after my son. And I think a lot of parents that we've connected with feel the same way, And so one thing I've tried to do is connect with other parents, try to be a support to them. as well as like just seeing, different folks on social media who have autism, how they've been able to deal and live with it. And, a lot of those folks have been able to live independently on their own, and a lot of them are very gifted and talented in other areas. So, I think, part of the journey is, it's kind of too early to tell. He's only 3. So it's just going to be a wait and see approach. Just kind of wish my future self would come to me and tell me, hey, he's going to be all right. He'll be fine. Just go through the process. So
I feel it's kind of amazing what God puts in your life to show you really how strong you are, whether as parents or as advocators, or even maybe to like test like your strength and your patience. But that was an absolutely beautiful story. Have you guys, as an outsider, have you guys ever heard of the book Medical Medium?
No.
I just finished reading it. It had a lot to do about autism. I'll send it to Monique, and you guys can read up and just see if it's anything that is helpful at all. So,
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I just you see children in this light and in this stage, and it's great to hear like the parents' side of it, because sometimes, as parents, I feel like it is more of a struggle because you want the best for your children. And when they're going through like a disability or just like a little bit of a, slow start, like with normal people, like, I don't know about you guys, but I think I would kind of feel a little bit like a comparison, like, oh, my child's not measuring up, but yet I still love my child. Like, so how did you guys ever deal with that? Or how are you guys dealing with that?
I'll be honest. I often find myself comparing, but that's also because a lot of folks would say, hey, is your kid not talking? Or they would ask questions, and it's like, well, I didn't really notice it before, but now that you brought it to my attention, now I'm looking at every 2-year-old like in the book, like, okay, you're doing that. My kid doesn't do that. And so I think it's natural to compare because sometimes you may not have a reference point. Right. Therefore, and sometimes you might even know that there's a challenge or an issue there until you actually see another kid. What I thought was normal for a 2-year-old kid, I realized, oh, well, he should be talking. Yeah, he should be saying 150 words. I'm like, oh, really? Well, we're not there yet. But I think for me, I try not to compare with the thought of, oh, I wish my kid would be this way. It's more so for educational. Okay, I see where he is behind, or I see where he is ahead, or whatever. Just seeing where he fits from a milestone standpoint, and then hoping to put a plan together with the different providers that we have in place to get him caught up. So that's how I use the compare.
I love it.
Just to make sure that we could close that gap.
For me, it's a little different. And it's only because I do work in the healthcare field with resources for folks. And so with having the range of working with individuals with mental health, developmental delay, any disability, ranging from baby to seniors, I had a different approach. I was more focused on, yes, he's different, but what can we get to make sure that he can progress and he can be independent? I didn't take a lot of time, especially initially, to process how I was feeling. And I took more time just putting things together. And so that kind of took a lot of my emotion out of it. But once I heard the diagnosis, I will be honest, I did break down for like a good 5-10 minutes. And the doctor was like, are you okay? I didn't mean to. And I said, no. My biggest thing is I didn't want, what I've seen is different reports over time of children who are autistic, who are nonverbal, who have a variety of different disabilities that are being taken advantage of, that are being harmed. Mm-hmm. And so my first thought was, I don't want anyone to ever hurt my child, neglect my child outside of my presence. I want to make sure that who he is with these are folks that are going to care for him and make sure that he is the best that he can be. I still never like to compare him to other children because I know all children are different, regardless of whether they're considered normal or not. And so we're also coming off of children who are born in the pandemic, which he is a child. He's a pandemic child. I was talking to a few moms and a few parents about the similarities of them struggling for their children to socialize. Understanding emotional cues because they were born and we were masked. Like all we had was a mask on.
Right.
And so seeing that and being able to feel like I'm not alone in this, I didn't do the comparing. I was just like, they're all pandemic babies with masks on, and now we have to take the mask off and show them this is happy, this is sad, this is angry. So it's not like how when we grew up and our parents grew up, where you saw everything just so you can learn much earlier. So that was my take on it, and just trying to make sure that he was okay, Joshua was okay, and that Joshua had everything he needed in a nutshell. So I've been running on as they say most days, but I really this year I'm looking forward to taking that time out and connecting with, okay, what am I feeling right now? So that's where I am with it.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. So I know like this whole thing is about like healing and everything. Like, how do you feel like you guys have dealt? Because there has to be, like, I would feel like some sort of grief that comes along with some of that news. And then how have you guys like found yourself healing through it?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say because Joel and I experienced it differently at different times, there was more so I had to like check him, like it's okay if something happens, like if he's just tapping somebody outside, all we have to say is like, he's 3, we apologize. We don't have to go into he's autistic. And we've had actually good responses to that. But I think going through that process for myself, I think I'm still kind of going through it every once in a while, to just take a moment and be like, did I miss something?
Mm-hmm.
Did I, man, that was a goal that he hit there. And just wanting to be available and a part of it. So I wouldn't say that I'm completely healed because I did that spiral of trying to get everything together. I didn't really take the full time to completely get 100%. So I'm still working through it.
I think that's beautiful. I don't think that I'm glad to hear you say that, because sometimes I feel like if people are like, oh yeah, no, I like worked myself through it, but there's like so many different stages. So no, absolutely. I love that. So
What about you?
thank you for sharing that.
I think I guess I wouldn't have expressed it as grief, but I guess for that, let's just use that term, grief. And denial was like very early on, and then there was like a point of anger.
Mm-hmm.
And I still get that angry feeling from time to time. I tend to get very aggressive and overprotective. So, like, case in point, if someone is inquiring about our son to my wife, and I don't know who this person is, I'll just, what are you guys talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Is everything all right? To which my wife kind of like, hey, everything's fine. It's fine. And we have to come up with a code word for me to stand down, because I don't want, I understand that people are genuinely curious, but sometimes I feel like folks are curious but not understanding. Whereas I'm all about, if you want to be curious and you want to be educated, I'm happy to talk to you about our experience. I'm happy to share with you what I know about this and how we work with our son, how we, deal with stuff that's going on. I'm happy to talk about it, right? Happy to share. But if you are coming from a place of ignorance, this is why I have a problem. And I feel like I have to protect my family from that ignorance. So I always say that I'm always on dad mode or like high alert when we're in like unfamiliar territory or we're like in a place where it might be overwhelming for him. So I occasionally get anxiety when he's in a place that he necessarily can't be himself.
Mm.
And so I kind of like, I don't know if he should be here, right? Like that's just how I feel. Like classic example, movies, plays, anything where he needs to be quiet. I get anxiety. It's really bad. It's like, I can't do it. Like, if he's in a circus or if he's in an amusement park, I'm all for it. If he's in a place, yeah, let's get after it, right? But anywhere where there has to be some silence, I get anxiety really bad because, at the end of the day, he's going to vocalize, he's going to express himself. And, at the end of the day, I don't want situations to be uncomfortable for my family or for everybody else, right? Who may not be.
Right.
So it's something that I've been trying to work through. It's not easy. Because the anxiety can turn to anger in a split second just because it's like I would strongly feel like we shouldn't be here. Like, this is not a place where he can be himself and thrive, and for me, like I feel like it's okay until he gets to the point where he can be in those situations and places where he can kind of like, okay, I can handle myself here, so I mean that's the stuff that I typically go through. But like we're in the supermarket and we're making all the noises and people look at us funny and I don't care. It's like we're having fun. We're gonna do our silly noises, our singing, our songs. I'll be silly with them, right? And it's fine. I get a couple of laughs. I get occasionally people walk up to me and say, "Oh, your son is singing." I'm like, "Oh, that's what you call it." Okay, So I think based on the setting is where I'll deal with most of my anxiety. So something that I'm still trying to work through. And I'll be honest, it might take years. This is something that just doesn't happen overnight. So, and I've accepted that. So
That's absolutely beautiful. And I feel that too, like you being that way, like in the grocery store and stuff like that, and giving yourself that freedom to like play and just interact with him in those moments. I feel that also gives him, to me, I don't know, and I could be completely wrong, but a better like self-worth, self-confidence in who he is. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. So thank you for sharing. Yeah.
No problem. I will say this. One thing we do take from this, and this is common amongst a lot of parents who have children who have autism or other developmental delays, or just even mental health. We can even get into that. I keep reminding myself it's okay. It's gonna be okay. And we have to push our limits to see how they can adapt, not how we can adapt. So when Joelle talks about not going to certain things to expose Joshua, I always push him. No. Let's see how he responds, because when we're not here, he has to go sometimes. So just being open to the process. I always try to encourage parents being open to the process. It is hard. It is difficult, but your child will be so much better if they can see that you're supporting and advocating for them and exposing them to what they need to be exposed to.
Absolutely. I agree. Wow. What a journey. Thank you guys for sharing.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. and thank you, Wendy, for stepping in. I appreciate it. It's been so amazing. The power of your light. Okay. So I appreciate you guys muddling through these technical issues, and my first time kind of in control of it. So I really do appreciate it. So one last question for you both. If you could rewind the clock to prepare yourselves for Joshua's coming, what would you tell yourselves as new parents?
Are you talking about just his birth or just like his diagnosis?
Birth.
Okay. Um. Well, the biggest thing I've said this to new parents or parents to be. No matter how much you prepare, you're never ready.
Mhm.
Because there's always going to be something that you just don't see. There's always going to be a curveball. I mean, his birth was a little bit traumatic, and I didn't see that coming. No one's ever prepared for that. Even the delivery doctor, the doctor, I don't know what you call that person.
Yeah. My OB.
Yeah, who delivered our son was completely stunned because in all her professional years of experience, he's never encountered a birth like his. So it's like you can be as prepared as you like, but there's some things you just can't prepare for. So take a step, take a minute, deal with your emotions, quickly, at least partially, and get into action. Whatever you need to do to step in, jump in, do what you need to do it. And another thing I would tell parents is if you have a feeling and everybody's telling you one thing, go with your gut, do what you need to do. Go if you need to go get that opinion from the doctor, or if you need to go get a second or third opinion, you go ahead and do that. If you need to go get the diagnosis and they're telling you, sorry, get the assessment done, and they're saying, oh well, he doesn't, go ahead and just stick with your gut, right? Because I think too many times parents are dissuaded and they're almost like their feelings are essentially just downplayed. Like, oh, you're a new parent, you're just worrying too much. No, sometimes your gut tells you right. If there's something that just doesn't seem right to you, go with your gut and get that checked, because what we've learned through this process is that the quicker you can identify and the earlier you can get the information, the quicker the intervention can occur. And it's
Mhm.
much easier to do intervention early, and there's a higher success rate, at least what we've been told, in improvement when there's earlier intervention than if it's late. So,
For me, so to give a little context about the birth, the cord was wrapped around his neck 3 times, and so typically, that's child is gone. They don't really survive that. So they were able to fast track getting the cord and getting him to breathe. Um, so just with that was something that was big, because I was ready to go naturally, and then our blood pressures went up, so they had to immediately do an emergency C-section to find out that that's what was going on. I don't think that I would change anything. I think for me, I think this is one of those where everything happens at one shot, and it's about how do you bounce back from it. Um, because the best thing that I want to be able to do when he gets of age and it's time for him to have his own his own children and family is, yes, you cannot prepare. You definitely can't prepare for having children and knowing what's going to happen. But what you have to do is always be ready. Be
Mhm.
ready for a shift. Be ready for something that might blow your mind, and you may not be able to get immediate help and all the immediate answers, but keep pushing forward. Keep being persistent. I want to say one of the other things other providers have said to us is, though we didn't get him in to services at 2, the fact that he's in services at 3 still makes a good impact, because a lot of times children get diagnosed at like 6, 7, or 8, and
Mhm.
they have bypassed that um, moldable point of being able to be redirected and retaught. He's in that
malleable stage.
malleable stage. He's in that good cushion right now where he's getting everything that he needs, and he's soaking it up really fast. So I love it. I wouldn't change it. Um, I would still keep it the same.
Awesome. All
Beautiful.
right. Thank you so much again for taking the time out and sharing with us and being vulnerable and open to sharing your stories about Joshua and your feelings around being parents of a child with autism. And so we appreciate it because somebody out there needs to hear it. So thank you for making an impact, and thank you for the power of your light and sharing it. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you. All right, Wendy.
All right, Wendy, you're up. Okay. And so, as I said, we want to just know what it was like for you from last year, what impacted your life last year, what were the challenges that came along, and how did you surpass that? And in the last 30 days that went by so quickly, did it seem like that tunnel of last year got smaller and smaller, and now you're out on the next end and you can see the light at the end of that tunnel?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, I feel that I've gone through these like ebbs and flows of my life, and maybe everyone has had, but I was a few years ago just coming out of a really bad eating disorder. My husband and I have 5 daughters, and that really impacted our family and impacted me. But I was trying to bring in like any of life's struggles, any of life's challenges, I brought through that eating disorder. When I realized that I could actually be me and still like learn how to deal with life's challenges and struggles and still grow and become the best part of me without having that, was a huge change for me. And as I started discovering myself throughout, after that and like growing through that, my husband became seriously ill. And it was one of those things that no one thought anything really of it. They just thought, he just went in for like pneumonia and a UTI. Well, like, okay. He came home with some antibiotics, All of December was just us changing antibiotics. Them saying, oh, he just needs a stronger antibiotics. I'm like, he's not getting better. Come January, I'm like, hey, he's still not better. And we've been through all these rounds of antibiotics. And it was literally a series of hospital appointments and doctor's appointments. And sometimes people telling me, I'm sure like some people have heard, like, you're crazy. He's fine. He's just stressed out. He's going through, it was just right after COVID. Like, we're coming out of COVID. He's stressed. I'm like, no, this is something more. And kind of what Joelle was just saying is like, when you have that intuition, that gut intuition that something severely is wrong, go with it. And then in February, they realized that he was really not getting better and admitted him into the hospital. Finally, they ran every sort of test imaginable. And then he came home February 22nd, and March 1st, he passed away. So it was like a series of all of these events. And kind of like what, Joelle was saying is like, you go through these anger times, these frustration, you're mad, you're confused at like everything that has just happened. You're searching for answers, and sometimes the medical world doesn't have answers. And so here I am trying to deal with, my 5 daughters, trying to give them answers that the medical field couldn't. I was trying to survive, or provide answers to people that were like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. No one really knows. When we did the autopsy report, that was inconclusive. So after that, through a series of things, I had to sell our family house. We lost our family businesses. I had to go through a lot of things where I literally was going from ground zero again, at my age with my 5 daughters and learning how to have to rebuild my life. So it's like, and those struggles of rebuilding your life, because you do go through all of these stages of grief. They talk about the stages of grief, and it's so true. And sometimes you don't go through them right away. Sometimes you go through them a year later. But as of last year progressed, and I started putting like my thoughts, like, you know what, I can overcome this. I can go through this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the next step. And what I thought my journey was, just to make myself better, to show my girls, you know what, you can overcome anything. You can do anything that you put your mind to. And you just keep needing to take the next step, the next step. Whether or not the next step is right or wrong, you don't know. You just take the next step and you make it how you want it to be. Because really in life, it's a series of choices, you know, and whatever choice you decide to choose or decide to make it the right choice for you. I mean, you have that choice, right?
Right.
And that's literally kind of like what I've put myself in all of last year. And I just started just rebuilding my life one step after another step after another step, showing me first that I
Right.
really could do it, you know, showing me first that what I was thinking, what, you know, some of my theories that I had brought to some of the doctors that they just kind of discarded. And now looking back, I'm like, I kind of feel like I should have challenged them. Like, no, let's look into this before we do anything else.
Right.
And I feel that, and I don't know if you guys have felt this way, but sometimes you not being a doctor, you know, you're holding your life in these doctors' hands, thinking that they know everything, and they don't. They really don't. They're wanting to give you the best that they know, but they don't know. And sometimes, like, your intuition does know better. So
Right.
really, you know, when I stepped into January 1st, I went through all of last year, and I know Monique and I, we were on a fabulous trip together to speak in
Yes.
London, and going through that whole trip, and I had fractured my leg and didn't know it. But again, you know, you go through all this pain and suffering and stuff like that. You just don't want to put that in your mind that you are really in pain. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and then, you know, come January 3rd, I think it was, I was diagnosed with a severe fracture, which I was told, like, how long ago was this? And it was like months that it's been fractured, to stay off of it. But it does also show me the power, the mental power that someone has. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I could have a fractured leg and still run and still walk and go do all these things. Although I was in a lot of pain, it's amazing what the mind puts out to people. And,
Right.
and that really, like, and even in that, it showed me, like, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you really can achieve.
Absolutely.
So going through hurt, going through pain, going through struggles, feeling so incredibly lonely, and like, how in God's kingdom am I going to get myself out of this mess that I'm in? You know,
Right.
how am I going to get my kids food and supply them a house? Like, I was left with some of those choices.
Right.
And then realizing that God is good. God is so good.
Yes,
And he never, he's there for you no matter what. So putting your faith and love in that, well, that's what I did. Going with your intuition and never stopping, never, like, not believe in yourself, never giving up, because that's where you start finding your strength. And like, come this, you know, and now I have a fractured leg, and what I normally like to do is run, and I found myself refocusing on what is really important in my life. Where's my next stages in life? I have gotten myself this far. Where now does God have me? I think God, like, kind of brought me down, like, okay, let's focus on you now, so that you can start bringing people involved, like helping people, helping those that have gone through what you've gone through. And, you know, and then just let them spread their own wings to create the life that they want to create.
Absolutely. And did you find yourself where you were more of that protector for your family, and that's how you ended up just kind of like ignoring the care that you needed for yourself? Did it almost seem like it was an automatic thing, or did you once in a while be like, I need to check in with myself, and then forgot? What was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely think you're always like, you know, well, for me, I was always wanting to do the best for my kids. I wanted to show them, you know, that I could keep going no matter what. And I think that's where I kind of lost myself. Like, I could keep going. I was in a ton of pain, you know. And I'm like, well, that will heal. That will get better. Let me just keep going. when I did take a step back and just gave myself a few weeks, you know, and I'm still recovering from it, but gave myself that time to really think. And it's amazing what God put in front of my eyes to say, look where you can go, look where you, but giving me that quiet downtime that I was so busy. I was so into my head of what I needed to do, and that struggle of, you know, I've got to do this. I've got to rebuild. I've got to do this. You know, honestly, you just need to give yourself, to me, what I've realized is last couple of days, give myself to God and say, okay, God, I'm here for you. You've put me through all of these things. I want to do your work. I want to do your service. Where will you have me go? And I really think that's what these last couple of weeks, you just like, okay, we're just going to take you way down. Like, okay, let's go.
Absolutely. Do you ever come into any triggers that you find yourself in that ultimate battle, and so you're not going back, but you know, because you've been through it, you've been through the fight, you know that you can get through it. And so what do you do to motivate yourself out of those moments if you do have triggers toward the eating disorder?
For the eating disorder, yeah, I do have triggers for sure. And, you know, like stress or I think social media, I think, does have a lot of those triggers, but I do also have to remind myself, like, I am so confident in who I am now and feel so comfortable with who I am. And it's just realizing, like, who am I? You know, when I was in that eating disorder, I wanted to be everything for everybody. You know, if someone had a struggle, I was going to take that on, and I took that on through my eating disorder. When I realized that, you know what, like I could be everything for everybody when I'm true to myself, and when I can give of myself, and when I can be exactly who I am to everybody around me, that's where the magic really comes in. It's not in trying to heal everybody internally for me. Like, oh, my daughter's going through this. Okay, well, I'm going to take it out of my eating disorder. It was like, my daughter's going through that. Okay, let's jump in there with her. Let's walk it through with her.
Right.
Let's hold her hand. And even though I'm dying inside and want to go to my eating disorder, just die inside and hold her and let her know that no matter what, like, God has us. We're going to be okay. We'll work through this.
Absolutely.
So absolutely.
Amen. Oh, yes. I love it. I love it. It's so amazing just to hear that, even though with everything coming at you from so many different aspects in life, that you made it through, and that you understand that you made it through. Because a lot of people, you know, they may make it through, but then they don't understand the process that got them there. They don't understand that God is holding them and supporting them up. And so they get lost in it, and sometimes to a degree where they're just not here anymore. And so I'm so thankful and grateful that, you know, God's grace and mercy allowed you to be here to ultimately defeat your demon that was on you and just trying to take over and take you out and take you away. But, you know, you were able to fight through and continue to go through. And so your light is continuously shining, and I mean, just all the positivities, all the things that are happening. And like you said, that you had that moment where you had to sit back, because sometimes he does sit us down so that we can listen. I mean, and the pandemic itself too was a moment where we're all supposed to just take that moment to listen, to remember. This is about loving ourselves, loving our brothers and our sisters, and just, you know, being the best that we can be in this life that we are given. And I mean, it's just so amazing just hearing your story. And I'm, like I said, I'm always so honored that, we had this time to meet each other. And now we're like sisters forever. And we didn't mention it before, but if you guys don't know that, so Wendy and I were the first set of authors in the Her Story book that is just taking off by ebbs and flows. We've got Her Story too. We've got Him Story, and we're just bonding over, the traumas and the pains of life that we've gone through, and some are still going through, but we have connected so well that it's this bond that's forever there. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah.
I wouldn't either. Absolutely not.
Oh man. And it just, the other thing is that I love that when we were in London, it was like that family reunion that you haven't been to in so many years. You get to see so many faces that you watching over Zoom and talking on the phone, but once we got together, it was just so amazing. So amazing.
I agree. And I'm like with that too. I feel that sometimes in life, God puts a major loss in our life just to really see what we're made out of. And that loss could mean different things for different people.
Right.
For me, I had gone through a series of different losses in the time, and that could be the loss of thinking that your child is, going through all the autism thing, or, different people have different losses, right?
Yeah.
And in those losses, I don't think anyone's life will ever be the same.
Right.
So I think in that, you also have to ask yourself, what do you want out of this life? What do you want to become? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want to show up for other people? And to me, my thing is, how can I serve? Because my whole thing was I've gone through this. I've gone through this for a reason. God put me in this whole gamut of my life for a reason.
That's right.
And I really feel it's there just to bring other people that have gone through some traumatic losses in their life and say, you know what? Yes, it's fine. You can overcome it. But sometimes the most rewarding times in your life is when you jump in and you break that sweat and you get uncomfortable with not knowing what to do next, but you just put yourself in that pursuit of what you want in this life. And then you find yourself getting those rewards in life.
Absolutely.
And that's why I always feel I started looking at one time in my life, I kept seeing oh my God, could anything get worse? My husband passed away. We had to close the businesses. When we were closing the businesses, one of my partners called me and said I was getting embezzlement charges. I was going through some embezzlement charges. In the process of that, my mom accidentally runs over our family dog in the driveway. All of these things started going on. Where you go down to, you're I cannot go through anything else. Just honestly kill me, because it would be better at this point. But it was taking each step and being what am I getting embezzlement charges for? I didn't do anything. And really diving into those people, and looking at my mom, okay, it was a mistake, and finding such a hurtful situation and just loving the person through it and being okay with it and saying, okay, that was meant to be. And sometimes you see yourself for a loss, if you lose a child or a spouse or someone you severely love, and you get hurtful, you get hateful, you get mad at God sometimes.
Yeah.
And yet God put that person in your life for that amount of time, whether it was 9 days, 3 years, 11 years, or 100 years.
Right.
God put that person in your life to change your life, to affect your life, to allow you to see you in a different light.
Right.
And then he just brought him home because that's where he is meant to go.
That's right. That's right.
So I just feel my vibration after I really started seeing all these things, it's I started seeing the worse it gets, the worse it gets. And that's where my life was going. And I'm you know what? I got to change this around. And you know what? These things are happening for a reason. And I just started thinking, okay, it's just going to get better and better and better. And that's just the kind of light that I just put myself into. And no matter what happens to me, I'm like, okay, there's a reason for this, and it's for the best for me. It's for the best for the people I need to bring board, or I need to like talk to, or I need to touch, or I need to help. So I don't know if that's worth anything.
It is. It's absolutely worth everything and more. And it's just such a wonderful thing to see the growth and the faith of how much you have been transformed, you know, and to hear it as you're talking, it is also is so peaceful and serene. I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but it is. It's like, you know, in the stories that you read, the stories you tell. So you know, of course, you've got the beginning, and in the middle, everything is, you know, this is the climax of it, and then it comes back down and it flows. And some stories give you that peace that you get nowhere else. And so when you share, you know, just what you've been through and understanding and realizing that you are now such a powerful light in this world, and to hear that, you know, that your purpose has been changed and you are on that mission, it's just such a peaceful and serene thing to hear. So I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me be a part of this day with all of you guys. I love it.
And so I'll end it off sharing my journey from last year into the first 30 days of this year. So being originally from New York, you know, that was my home, that was my life. And of course, in hearing Takira and Joel's story, you know why I'm here. But there was still my mom and my brother that were there. And so, you know, we all started talking about this move to you know, bring everybody a little bit closer, just have everybody in one location or as close as possible. And so something you would think that easy peasy, right? You know, just make it happen, just kind of like spiraled out of control to where, you know, we all had to go into protect mode over my mom, because people were trying to get crazy and funny because they take advantage of seniors, you know, just thinking that, okay, well, you know, we'll do this, especially when they think that nobody's there. So we all went into protective mode, and, you know, those things worked out. And so when you think that, okay, that's calmed down, it's over, you know, everybody can breathe again, you know, you go into losses within the family, and, you know, it's just like, in some ways, especially since the pandemic, I felt like I was kind of numb to the losses. Not that they didn't matter to me, but I didn't experience them like I used to, because I felt more like, well, they're the lucky ones because, you know, they're not going through the pain and the strife anymore. And, you know, they found that peace, they found that tranquility, and, you know, they are with God, and, you know, and that is the goal. And so before I could even start, you know, kind of trying to figure out in my head, you know, what's going on with that, because like you said, with grief, it's the different stages. And, you know, my sister who passed away in 2018, you know, that was like really rough for all of us. And so just when I'm thinking I'm getting over that, you know, then the mode of more deaths. And so that topped with my brother being sick, and now kind of like being propelled forward into his caregiver. It's just like, you know, where do I have the time to feel, and feeling guilty for feeling anything. It's just like there's so many people, not only within your family, that experience so many things more than what you could ever imagine. It's like, how dare you even feel anything? So I went numb. For a good minute, but then we had a few more deaths, and it's just like, okay, when does this stop? When can I get off of this ride? Because I don't like it. I want to be somewhere else. And so, fortunately enough, I've been able to pursue my childhood dreams of acting. And so I've had opportunities to be in different plays, and now currently I'm at a point where I'm also doing and learning producing, but these are my escape zones. So it's like, where's Monique? Where's mom? She's escaped. So my thing was, yes, this is my escape, but there was a guilt in that too, because it's like, it's an escape, but I still have to make sure everybody's good. I still have to understand that it's not so much putting my dream on hold or pausing it here and there, but it's managing everything. And it's just about making sure I manage everything. And so at the top of the year, I'm just like, duh, stop thinking that you can't do what you want to do and also, have those responsibilities. And ironically enough, in my constant therapy of helping others with their hoarding so that, my triggers don't happen, God kind of like gives me these messages through them each time. And then that give and take of allowing them to be free of that pain, that hurt, and then identifying that, wow, I felt that too. It's just managing my emotions about it better, managing where I am in my purpose, and understanding that I've been given this assignment so that I'm helping others get to where I'm trying to rush to be, but we have to do it together. I can't do it by myself. I can't leave them out in the wing, but if we do it together, it's managed so much more efficiently than me trying to run this race by myself. And literally, even though it's been said over and over again, Monique, get some rest. Monique, take your time. Monique, you don't have to do this. Monique, it's just like, yep, I heard you. But I still got to go. I still got to do this. I still got to escape. So just the calm of understanding that it's okay because God has got me. Like I said, all these little messages here and there, all these experiences that I'm having with my clients, helping them, helping me, it's like the most illuminated light. If you're in the darkest, deepest valley, which is in the Bible. So I'm in this dark, deep valley, and it's like, I can't see anything. And that light of, you can't do it by yourself. Stop trying to do it by yourself and realizing it's okay not to do it by yourself. And I'm so blown away by just the fact that he loves me that much, that He'll send me messages every day. Look, it's okay, you got it, Or I'll get a client, they'll tell me, oh, don't worry about it, because I'm feeling better now since you came here, and we're doing this. And that tells me that I'm doing what he's prepared me to do. And I'm doing it the right way because it's making a difference. And so I think that's really all that I've ever wanted to do, is to be able to make a difference. Because for so long, I thought I wasn't worth it. I thought I'm not that person, or I'm not this person, or, you can't really compare yourself to XYZ. But I don't have to compare. I just have to be me and continue doing what I have been set to do. And that's it. And that's my life.
That's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Do you find or see that as you've gone through all of this, how, like, sometimes I'd question God's love in general.
Right.
But do you see, like, going through all of this, like, how God loves you so incredibly much, just as you are, that when you start realizing that, like, you're actually the daughter of a king, right?
Right.
That no matter what you do, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then that, I feel, maybe, like, I don't know, does that give you like a sense, or do you look at that differently? I mean, when I started realizing that he loves me no matter what, he knows every little hair on my body, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, he knows me through and through. So how can it's kind of like telling your kids, like, I love you, and then, like, they hate themselves or whatever. You're like,
right.
No, look at you through my eyes. Like, you're amazing.
Yeah.
And that's like God telling us, like, I don't care what you've gone through. You're my child. Like,
right.
Look at how amazing you are. Look at the people you could touch. Look at who you are in everything that you've gone through. Like, I don't know, what is your take on that, or how do you see yourself in that?
So, like I said, it's been fueled through really listening to what the clients are saying to me, but listening to it as God answering all the questions that's rambling around in my head. Am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I doing your will? Am I making you proud? And it's like, literally, and I had to, like, come to terms with the fact that they've been in pain for so long that there was no one that could understand it. Mm-hmm. And so because I finally admitted to my hoarding and incorporated it with my cleaning, that was what he wanted me to do all along. Mm-hmm. Because for years my cousin was like, oh, girl, you always cleaning something. You need to have your own business. And I wasn't ready, but I wasn't ready because God didn't make me ready. I had to go through what I went through so that the incorporation of both would happen, so that I would come to a time just like this, mm-hmm. where it's healing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so much more healing. And so every time I feel like I'm healed more and more by just what they say about how it's changing them. Mm-hmm. So helping them change heals every little crack and crevice that has been broken in me for so long.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. And thanks for sharing. I love that story.
Yeah. All right. Well, We didn't have everybody I was hoping for, but as we found out on the road, it's not about who's there. It's about the message. And so within this message, we've learned so much more. We've given out more, and that which is what light does. It gives out that energy. It makes things more luminous to continue to support the positivity. And so that's what we've done here. We've supported the positivity. We've illuminated those areas that might not have been understood for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done our work.
We have
done our work.
Like,
Yes. And so again, I want to thank you, and I thank you, Takira and Joelle, for saying yes. I try so much not to indulge in asking them because they're there, but I find that when they see and hear the content, it then becomes like, okay, it's not about you, Mom. Okay, what do you mean?
Absolutely.
And I appreciate it. Yeah.
That was definitely a beautiful story. Well, thank you so much, Monique, for inviting me.
All right. And well, you all have a good evening. And we'll talk again soon. But you guys out there, I hope that this was something that resonated in your heart. I hope that you will share these stories that we have given you as the power of your light, and encourage you to keep going and, never give up, because God is always there. God loves us. And we're it. All right. Much love. Be blessed, be safe, be well. I am my brother's keeper. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Wendy.
Woo! Yes. In stream.